Welcome to Guiding Elementary Academics. I'm Kimberly Dabelt, and this is my 19th year in the ministry here at Pensacola Christian. During those years, I've had the opportunity to work with Abeka Academy, teach 4th, 5th, and 6th grades, and most recently oversee several of the elementary classrooms and teachers. It is my pleasure today to walk through with you some practical tips for effectively supervising your elementary grades, specifically grades 1st through 6th. In this session, we're also going to jump into several PCA classrooms to help you see it in action. I want you to walk away from this session with confidence that you can be successful in overseeing the elementary grades by gaining a general idea of what are the major goals and the core subjects for each of these grades. Another thing I want you to be confident in is the knowledge of how you're going to ensure that these goals are being met. And then third, a plan of how you can help your teachers find success in the classroom. With the Lord's help, we will begin this school year with the knowledge and the skills necessary to ensure that the elementary grades in your school are turning out a consistent product year after year, or could we say grade after grade. As administrators, you know we wear many hats through the course of the day. And one day, I'm sure if you've done this before, like mine, I've been the school nurse. I might have functioned as the janitor for a little bit or as a counselor and a supervisor all in the same day. One of those hats that we wear as supervisors is to promote and advertise for our school. And we probably all could agree that the advertisement for our school often focuses on one of these tenets, that we have strong academics, that there's an academic program that's set up to help students find success. Perhaps that's with phonics in those lower elementary years, or that we build critical thinking skills in our students, that we integrate those biblical principles. Another thing that your school might advertise is that you have teachers that care for their students and they have a concern for their students. That's often both written on brochures as well as pictured on those brochures. And then often another thing that we advertise is that the school is offering something uniquely different, that we're distinctly Christian. Can I tell you, as the elementary academic supervisor, to make sure that those things are taking place that are being advertised, that is one of our priorities. And how do we do that? Well, our founder here at Pensacola Christian, Dr. Arlen Horton, always said you must inspect what you expect. So what does that mean in the supervisor or principal role? It simply means you need to get into the classrooms. You need to observe. So in this session, we'll begin by surveying the elementary curriculum, looking at the major goals, or could we say scope and sequence, for the core subjects in each year. Now, let me assure you that if you have a degree in secondary education and now you're overseeing an elementary program, that you can find success. You don't have to be a master teacher in all subject areas or on all grade levels to be an effective principal. You can be effective if you know where to look for information about those grade levels and that subject information. And you can be effective if you understand the basic methods for teaching each of those subjects. So where do you start looking for that information? If you have experience in elementary or even outside of elementary? Well, I would encourage you to become familiar with the scope and the sequence. A scope and sequence does exactly what it says. It tells you the scope of the information that's going to be learned per grade, and then it's going to tell you the sequence that information is learned. Looking at from a big picture, from the supervisory role, it's going to tell you the sequence of how do we go from first grade to second grade and getting second graders ready for third grade. And then in third grade, what is the unknown so we can go from the known to the unknown. And as you continue up through fourth, fifth, and sixth, going from those concrete concepts to the abstract concepts. You can find Abeka's scope and sequence right there online at abeka.com. Another place that I would encourage you to look is not only the scope and sequence, but I would also encourage you to look within the curriculum binders. The curriculum is an excellent tool for teachers, and if you haven't purchased one for your teachers, let me encourage you to do so. But it's also an excellent tool for principals. For the front matter of that curriculum is going to tell you the philosophy, the methods, the major projects, how things should be graded and weighted so that you can make sure that you are in the know and that we're being consistent from grade to grade. So now let's look at the big picture of elementary grades by looking at those subjects. First and second grade is going to major on phonics, reading, arithmetic, and writing. Because they're in the lower grades, they are learning to read. Science, history, and health are going to be taught as an extension of the reading program. So they're not going to be graded in those younger grades. And they're not even going to last the whole year. Each of those subjects are going to be about a third of the year. Now we're going to transition as we go into third grade. Third grade is that transitional year as we head into upper elementary. And so in those grades, third through sixth, they're going not to as much learn to read, although we will still focus on reading skills. They're going to read to learn. They're going to major on language arts, which is language, reading, spelling, and writing, both penmanship and creative writing there, as well as arithmetic, science and health, and history. All subjects in the upper elementary grades are graded at that time. So the chart that you saw is a good illustration of lower elementary versus upper elementary. But we want to transition at this point and look at subject specific. Now, in our time of our session, we don't have time to go through all of the subjects. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 3 core subjects of elementary, and then at the end, we'll give you some general principles that link back to that classroom observation that I already referenced at this point. So what are the 3 core subjects of elementary? It is reading, language, and arithmetic. Now remember, you don't have to know all the information about reading, language, and arithmetic. You just need to make sure you look in the right information. Look in that curriculum, which will make you an expert. Reading is the most important elementary academic subject. It lays a solid foundation or the building blocks to a student's entire education. Success rises in all subjects, or can we say rises and falls on the proficiency of reading. Abeka is going to use the traditional approach to reading, that it's going to be teacher planned and it's going to be teacher directed. Abeka uses intensive phonics to teach reading. You see there, the handbook for reading is the key phonics textbooks in those lower grades. It's a phonics first approach. It's not a gradual approach or tacked on if there's time. Abeka phonics has proven to be simple, practical, and thorough. What do I mean by simple? It's simple because it uses a few simple rules and about 130 special sounds. That sounds like a lot to us, but it's nothing to the students. They soak it all up very quickly. And those few simple rules and the special sounds teach a child to be an independent, confident reader. Abeka phonics is practical. It helps students be able to sound down to unfamiliar words in books that they are interested in reading. And then it is thorough. It immerses students in the study of phonics for the first years of their education. In grades 1 and 2, there is a formal phonics class. You already saw the cover there of the handbook for reading. Now you can see a sample inside the teacher edition. You can see that there's notes out there for the teacher to help them with that. Know what to put into their lessons and some feedback there. And then it also gives the students the small, being able to read a special sound or a blend. Then it goes to words. And then you'll notice there at the bottom of the screen, or bottom of the page, I should say, that it actually has some sentences. So the students are building from the small to the large there. So first and second grade, formal phonics class. Beginning in third grade, they're going to review phonics at the beginning of the year, but as they continue through sixth grade, they're going to use what they were taught in those phonics classes of first and second grade to apply to their reading classes in upper elementary. We're going to jump into Mrs. Chappell's second grade class to view phonics. She's going to both review a chart as well teach a new sound. Let's watch Mrs. Chappell.
Boys and girls, we are ready to practice one of our favorite phonics charts. And ladies, you are the stripes, and boys, you are the splotches of paint. So when it's your turn, stand up and be a great leader. We're going to start with the girls. Begin.
Aaron, there, E-A-R, earn, E-A-R, Midland, N-B. Aaron, there, E-A-R, ear, ear, E-A-R, Exton, big S, E-S-T. Lean slowly, L-Y, as in peaches, E-S. Kind and kind, I-N-D. Island, I-L-D. Earn, bigger, E-R. E and rainy, Y.
You see an excellent job. Now, your favorite sport. When I say it, you stand up. Even if you haven't played it, you like watching it as well. Basketball.
E and rainy, Y. U and few, E-W. Flu and flu,
What
E-W.
about baseball?
Ear and ear, E-A-R. Trent and cash, T-C-H.
And football.
What and who, W-H. What and whale, W-H. As in peaches,
What
E-X.
about kickball?
Island child, I-L-D. Lean slowly, L-Y.
And you may have a seat. That was a wonderful job, boys and girls. And now we have a brand new special sound to look at. But there's something familiar about it. See if you can figure it out while I take my turn. Ch and patch, T-C-H.
Shut and patch,
And
T-C-H.
say it one more time.
Shut and patch, T-C-H.
I am going to call on you. When I do, you pop up like a piece of popcorn and answer. What is the sound, Dylan? Just the sound. Ch, very good. And how do you spell it, Kaden?
T-C-H.
Good. And what is the clue word, Layla?
Patch.
And class, what is the whole rule?
Shut and patch, T-C-H.
Now, there's something very special about the ch sound. Look at my clue word. What kind of vowel do you see, Lane? Long or short?
Short vowel.
It is a short vowel. So how many vowels are in the word, Wyatt? TCH will always follow a short vowel. So how many vowels will it follow, Brooklyn, if it's short? Very good. And I need some helpers to come to the board, but you're not going to dissect today. You're going to do something a little bit different. Before I send you to the board, did anyone figure out why this sound is so familiar to us? Have we learned another sound that makes the same sound? What is that, Grace?
Shut and church, C-H.
Very good. Chut and church. Everyone say the whole thing?
Shut and church, C-H.
Now, looking at the clue word for church, where do you see the CHs in the word, Ava? Very good, but I don't see a short vowel, do you? No, because TCH follows a short vowel. But let's look at the back of this card we've already had before. Let's read together.
Tea, check, cheese, chain, ranch, chest.
Now, I see CH at the front of every word except one of them. Which word has CH at the very end, Lily?
Ranch.
Good. Ranch. How many vowels are in ranch, class?
One.
One. Didn't we just say that TCH follows a short vowel? But this one has CH because there's a consonant blocking the short vowel. So it's TCH after short vowel if it comes right after it. If there's a consonant standing in the way, you get to use CH. So with that in mind, now I'm ready for my helpers. So Nina, Ava, and EJ, you come up to the blue words and you're going to write TCH or CH. That's all. No dissecting, circling, or marking today. Just those two sounds. While they do that, we're going to look at some words on the back. So I need Grayson and Brayden to read. Grayson first.
fetch, catch, hatch. Match, stretch, picture.
Very good. From your seat, class, reach your arms up and do this. Oh, a nice big stretch. Well done. Hands down. Now let's have a challenge match between Zahara and Wyatt. Guess the word that I'm describing. I would throw something for my dog to catch.
Fetch.
Fetch. Good. He waited till I was done. So you can challenge Lily. Good try, Zahara. You would do this in a baseball game.
Pitcher.
Well, you could be a pitcher. What would you do with the ball, though?
Catch.
You would catch. You two get to do another one. This is when you connect two words that are similar.
Match.
Match is correct. Both of you are the winners. Give them a microwave, boys and girls. Now let's check the words on the board. Stan, read your word if you did it.
Patchwork.
If he used the correct one, give him a microwave, everybody. Short vowel, TCH. Next one. Bunch is correct. Now I see a short vowel. Ava, why did you put CH?
Because the N is blocking it from getting to the short vowel.
Right, so she was correct. There's an N blocking, a constant blocking, and our last word way over here. Stitch, short vowel, TCH. Now class, there's something I want you to do with your feet. Short vowel, TCH. So you remember there's 3 letters in that special sound.
Wow. Did you notice the variety that Mrs. Chappell put into that review when she was going through that phonics chart? Also, did you see her creative way of having the boys and girls with the 2 different pointers? Her students were having to watch in order to know whose turn it was supposed to be. Mrs. Chappell also did a great job comparing and contrasting the ch in church and the ch in patch. And so she did a great job not only of teaching the comparing and contrasting, but making the students sure that the students could apply that to the new sounds by going up to the board and filling in the correct letters there. Now let's look at the reading class structure. In the lower grades, grades 1 and 2, there's going to be 2 reading times per day on the schedule. That's because there's a greater emphasis on reading at the lower levels. And don't worry, the students still love to read, so they won't think anything of the 2 different times. I would tell you that it's not wise to combine those 2 times or even omit one of them. The intensive practice of reading every day is going to improve those reading skills. 2 shorter times work better with the attention span of this age level. Now, we've already mentioned this, but grades 3 through 6 is going to focus on reading to learn. So they're going to only have 1 reading class. It's going to be about 30 minutes a day, but they will focus on reading in several of their other subjects of history and science and language. And you would not want to neglect helping them with the reading skills even in those other subjects. So what are some keys to an effective reading class? Well, are the teachers asking questions over the reading, especially in the lower grades over that homework reading? Are the teachers giving a brief introduction to the story, whetting the students' appetite? Are they helping students with new vocabulary so the students won't get stuck on those new words, making it easier to read those stories? In lower grades, are the teachers helping students on the words that they're having difficulty with by using phonics, or are they just giving the students those words? When you go into upper elementary, are they now not only have to go by maybe the small special sounds, but they could even go by syllables. We want to help the students in all grades through phonics. That's going to help them find success as they are becoming independent readers. Another thing that a great reading teacher does is they comment on each child's reading, what was good and what could be improved. They ask comprehension questions throughout the story. They require the students to think. Biblical integration is key in the reading class. The stories in the reading books are filled with great character traits. So prompt discussion, ask questions, get the students thinking by those thought-provoking questions, both with the higher levels of thinking as well as biblical integration. And then the teaching of literary concepts. The character, plot, setting, personification. The list could go on and on and on. We want our students to think. We want them to be able to analyze as they're reading. Let's visit Mrs. Craig's 6th grade reading class. She will briefly start by introducing a literary concept, and then we'll get to hear some 6th grade readers.
Those of you joining us today, welcome to our class. We've been reading about Anne of Green Gables, and we're going to continue reading in that story today. But before we get to Anne of Green Gables, Tyler, would you read the word that we have on the board here? Character. And the characters in a story, just tell us who the story is about. There are often many characters in a story, and then there's a main character as well. And the main character is simply mainly who the story is about. In the story of Anne of Green Gables, who remembers who our characters are? So far, we've really seen 3 characters. Tristan, who are the characters in our story?
Anne, Marilla, and Matthew.
Correct, very good. And of those 3 that we've seen so far, there will be others coming. You can be seated, thank you. Of those characters, who would be the main character, Phoebe?
Anne.
Anne is who the story is mainly about. I agree. Open up your reading books to page 195. Page 195. Evie, would you come on up to the front as you find your place to begin reading for us? Page 195. We're going to begin toward the bottom where it says Anne took off her hat neatly.
Anne took off her hat neatly. Matthew came back presently, and they sat down to supper. But Anne could not eat. In vain she nibbled at the bread and butter and pecked at the crab-apple preserve out of the little scalloped glass dish by her plate. She did not really make any headway at all.
I'm going to have you continue reading. As you do, I want you to slow down just a little bit. There are a couple places you're just getting ahead of yourself. I want you to continue reading. Slow down just a little.
You're not eating anything, said Marilla sharply, eyeing her as if it was a serious shortcoming. Anne sighed. I can't. I'm in the depths of despair. Can you eat when you are in the depths of despair? I've never been in the depths of despair, so I can't say, responded Marilla.
Thank you. That was much more smooth. You may have a seat. Thank you. So, of course, in the point of our story that we've already read, Anne has come to this house here, and they didn't want her. Oh, they wanted a boy, but she may as well stay for dinner, and that's where we picked up. What do you think Marilla is thinking about Anne so far in the evening with what Evie just read about dinner? What do you think that she's thinking about her so far? Genevieve, what do you think Marilla's thoughts on Anne are?
She's a little confused that Anne's there instead of
She's confused that Anne is there, but what do you think her thoughts on Anne personally are? Valerie, what do you think?
that she's so dramatic.
She's so imaginative and dramatic. Even just then, when Evie was reading, she was being dramatic at dinner. Let's continue reading. Tyler, would you come up and read for us on the top of 196?
Weren't you? Well, did you ever try to imagine you were in the depths of despair? No, I didn't. Then I don't think you can understand what it's like. It's a very uncomfortable feeling indeed. When you try to eat, a lump comes right up in your throat and you can't swallow anything. Not even if it was a chocolate caramel. I had one chocolate caramel once 2 years ago, and it was simply delicious. I've often dreamed since then that I had a lot of chocolate caramels, but I always wake up just when I'm going to eat them.
All right, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to let you finish out this little paragraph that Anne is reading. But as you do, try to add a little bit more expression. Anne's here prattling on at dinner. I think she's being quite expressive as she's speaking. So why don't you finish out those last few sentences, adding some expression.
I do hope you won't be offended because I can't eat. Everything is extremely nice, but still I cannot eat.
Thank you, and have a seat. I think Anne's probably being a little bit more dramatic. Everything is extremely nice, but still I cannot eat. How would you act if you were in Anne's shoes? Here she is at this beautiful farmhouse, and she's a little sad here that indeed this is not going to be her forever home, so it looks right now. How would you act? How would you feel if you were in her shoes? Valerie?
I feel like a disappointment, but I try to enjoy it without
That's right, a little disappointed, but try to enjoy it. Here she just kind of, at this dinner anyway, wallowing. I can't eat. Have you ever had a chocolate caramel? I couldn't even eat one of those. And she's just going on. Right here, if you like chocolate-covered caramels, I like chocolate-covered caramels. I probably eat one.
Did you notice that Mrs. Crack asked thought-provoking questions throughout the reading selection? How would you feel if you were in Anne's shoes? Or what do you think Marilla is thinking about Anne? We want to get our students thinking, and Mrs. Craig did an excellent job at that. She also provided feedback after the oral readers, commenting on smoothness with one reader, expression with another reader. Before we transition to the next subject, let me give you one more reminder that reading establishes the building blocks. It provides that solid foundation in the student's entire education. And so reading is of utmost importance. Okay, so our first core subject is reading. Another core subject is language. Language utilizes man's most important tool, and that is the tool of thought. Now, when I say language, I'm actually talking about two different things. One thing is grammar. Grammar is taught for the purpose of making clear to the students the orderly structure of their language, both the usefulness of it and the practicality of it. Now, in conjunction with that grammar, we're going to have composition and oral usage. This is to guide the students to develop complete and orderly thoughts. So, to learn to reason and to think. The scope and sequence for language, let's start there in the lower elementary. What are we going to cover? Well, they're going to start by writing words, and then as they fill in the appropriate words for those incomplete sentences. Then they'll move on to phrases, then they'll move on to sentences, and finally they'll get to paragraphs and compositions. As they transition into upper elementary, they're going to take the foundation they got there in the lower elementary, and they're going to continue to work on grammar. They're going to learn all 8 parts of speech, and they learn that about midway through elementary, or master that, I should say, about midway through elementary. So they're going to build on that as it goes. So they might know what an adjective is, but do they know what a predicate adjective is? And we're going to build on those skills, going from the known to the unknown. You can see there with grammar that on your screen that it provides exercises right there in the book for them to practice that. And then writing in upper elementary is going to use that grammar to effectively communicate. And they will write book reports. They will write historical place essays in 4th grade, and then their research reports in 5th and 6th grade. Now, what are some of the keys to an effective language class? As the supervisor, if you were to go in and watch a language class, what would you know? This teacher has mastered this skill. Well, at the beginning, there's going to be a brief review to lead into the new concept. We want our teachers to teach from the known to the unknown, from the concrete to the abstract. So review right there at the beginning for maybe 5-6 minutes, going over what they know to help solidify that information. And then a good language class has the teaching of the new material or the teaching of the new concept. And how important demonstration is. We want our teachers to demonstrate the skill. So put a sentence up on the chalkboard or on the smart board or on the projector, whichever way your school's visualizing those sentences. Maybe it's even through a sentence strip. And are they demonstrating it? Are they showing the subject? Are they showing the verbs? Are they showing the predicate adjectives? Are they showing the predicate nominatives, the direct objects? Are they showing the relationship? Can they show the diagrams? Demonstrate, demonstrate, demonstrate. An effective language teacher demonstrates not only once a new concept, at least twice, and often more than that. An effective language teacher asks students why they gave the answer that they just did, making them justify their answers. We don't want them to just guess. We want to make sure that they comprehend, that they understand what they're analyzing there in sentences. A way that we're going to do this every day is through daily application. After the material is taught, after asking why to several students, then let's jump into the book. Abeka provides numerous exercises throughout the book that the students can do. I would encourage the class to do some together. They can do some individually, and the teacher can walk around and they can check to make sure every student is understanding that new concept. Check it right there in class, provide immediate feedback so that the student knows where they our understanding. We're going to slip into Mrs. Meester's 4th grade language class as she conducts a short review at the start, and then she's going to begin teaching about predicate adjectives.
We are ready to get started with language class today, and I have a couple of students that I want to come on up. So Alan and Deanna are going to come up and mark this sentence. While they're doing that, the rest of the class, go ahead and stand. We're going to face our friends that have joined us today. We're going to sing our state of being verb song. Ready?
And is our was word be, then these are the state of being verbs.
Great singing, and you may be seated. Great job for Alan. Alan's marked the sentence, and he has put the dividing line between the complete subject, which is very small today, and the complete predicate, which is a little bit longer today. And well done for Deanna. Now I've got to ask Deanna before you're seated, how did you know that you have been used is actually an action verb?
Because you can actually do it.
That's right. It's something that you can do. What do we call a verb that is more than one word making up an entire verb? And we consider it as one. Alan?
A verb phrase?
That is a verb phrase. Excellently done. We have been talking about different kinds of verbs and what they can do in the sentence. And we're going to look at something today that I enjoy. This entire lesson is going to be a lot about the next thing we're going to see here on the screen, and that is pizza. Now, I have only met one person in my life who does not like pizza. I think for most of us, we would agree with this sentence that pizza is delicious. Now, do you see something right away? Do you see an adjective that's following the verb that describes pizza? Do you see that? Samaria? What word is it?
Delicious.
That is the word delicious. Notice how delicious it is in the predicate of the sentence, but it's really describing the subject. So this is very interesting. We call this a predicate adjective. It's an adjective describing the subject, but it is in the predicate part of the sentence. Now, you might say, well, Mrs. Meester, how am I ever going to figure this out? It is so simple. We need to look at what kind of verb is being used in this sentence. If you'll notice, right here is the verb is. Now, we just sang through our state of being verb list, but do you know there's another group of words that sounds a lot like the being verb list, but it's actually a group of words that help link words in the predicate back to the subject. They are called linking verbs. Now, linking verbs make me think of something that I have right here, and that's a paper chain. And I know paper chains are a lot of fun to make around Christmas time. We made a paper chain here in our class. It's a lot of fun. But you know, paper chains are made up of links. What do links do? Well, they are helping us to be able to join one thing to the other. You see this pizza chain right here? Well, what is helping to connect pizza to delicious? Well, it is the linking verb. Well, we can find it here. This linking verb is. So that is exactly what linking verbs do. Linking verbs are much like links in a paper chain. They help to link a word in the subject to a word in the predicate. And here in our sentence, we have pizza is the subject. Is the linking verb, linking delicious back to the subject.
Did you notice that at the beginning, Mrs. Meester did a great job during her review? She had some students analyzing sentences up on the smartboard while she had others practicing their state of being verbs through a song. If your teachers can multitask in the classroom, they have great management, and they're keeping the students very busy, using every moment to their advantage. Did you also notice that she tied the known to the unknown by connecting adjectives to predicate adjectives? She did a great job illustrating linking verbs by bringing in the chain that linked the subject to the predicate adjective. So jump into your language classes and go in there and evaluate, are your teachers teaching language like a master teacher, and provide feedback as needed. Now let's transition to the last core subject in elementary, and that is math. And sometimes we refer to that as arithmetic. Traditional arithmetic is the foundation for all higher branches of mathematics. It enables students to solve problems and work higher level math processes more quickly and accurately when the basic skills are mastered. In arithmetic, we are going to emphasize the mastering of the fact, the memorizing of those facts. It enables students to enjoy arithmetic as they solve problems quickly and accurately, and it also trains logical, orderly thinking. The scope and sequence for Abeka's math is going to rely on that spiral review. We're constantly reviewing what was previously taught. Once again, going from the known to the unknown, that logical progression. So what is that progression? Well, in first grade, we're going to focus on the 1 to 18 addition and subtraction families. In second grade, we'll continue to review those, but build onto it by learning to borrow and carry. We're going to introduce the 0 through 5 families for multiplication and division. In third grade, we'll continue to practice that addition and subtraction. There's that spiral review, the multiplication and division, and then we're going to master the multiplication and division tables all the way up to the 12 times family. We're going to work on multi-step story problems as well as measurement conversion. In all of lower elementary, grades 1 through 3, they're going to work on time, money, and temperature. We'll continue to review all of those things at the beginning of fourth grade, but the emphasis will, by second quarter, will transition to fractions. Fifth grade, we'll build on that with decimals. And in sixth grade, we will focus on percents and percentages. At the same time of all of that, they're going to work on story problems. They're going to be putting their math skills to that practical use. They're going to do algebraic equations, also geometric figures. They're going to find area and perimeter. They're going to keep working on even some skills outside of arithmetic there in algebra and geometry. What are some keys to the effective arithmetic class? Well, the first key is adequate review. We've said it, we've implied it, but review is foundational for the mastery of learning. And so at the beginning of every math class, there's going to be oral review, probably about 10 to 12 minutes of oral review to help sure the students know those facts. So right this time, we're going to jump into Miss Moses' sixth grade class to see an oral review in action.
I want you to add 11 to this answer. Yes, go back to Ethan. Add 4.
76.
76 is correct. Ethan took it. He's next to Amelia. Divide your answer by 4. 5 is correct. Come to Evan. Add 5.
15.
Not 15. 10 will be your answer. Next to Genevieve. Add 2.
83.
Add 2.
Oh, 90.
90 is the right answer. That wasn't your first answer though. So Rebecca, see if you can answer this. Add 6 to this. 90 is exactly right. Nice sit down. As we're looking at our chalkboard here, we're doing column addition together, class. 4,
12, 15, 21.
Next.
9, 13, 22, 28.
It's just Evan.
10, 15, 24, 35.
Good. Just Isaiah.
6, 15, 21, 23.
Good. And class together.
11, 18, 19, 23.
And as we look at our final answer here, let's read it. It is class
233,181.
This is the
Ones, tens, hundreds, 1,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s.
Good. Stand as you're standing together. Give me these formulas. Hit it.
A equals S times S or S squared. A equals B times H. P equals 4 times S.
Just girls.
C equals 5 times
D. No, pi times D or 2 times pi times R. Everybody together.
C equals pi times D or 2 times pi times R. A equals L times W. P equals 2 times L plus 2 times
Just the
W.
boys.
A equals
S times R
Listen
squared.
carefully. This one is
A equals pi times R squared.
You may be seated. We're looking at our chart that regards our circle. I point to a part of the circle. You tell me what it is. This class is the
Radius.
This is the
Diameter.
Just a curve would be an
Arc.
A half curve would be a
Semicircle.
Degrees in a circle, AJ. Degrees in a semicircle, Christopher.
180.
Is exactly right. What is true about a radius and a diameter? Mariah, how much longer is a diameter than a radius? You're exactly right. So if I had a radius of 5 feet, what would my diameter be there? 10 is correct. Answer as a class. Tell me what these things are. This is a
Right
triangle, perpendicular lines, pentagon, rhombus.
First person up. Let's see which row will win. So I got my front people. Here we go.
Square.
She's got it. Next people. You got it. Next.
Right.
Right is correct. Next.
Line.
Line. Question for the next people. What makes this a line?
It goes to
infinity.
It goes for infinity is exactly right. This is next. Yes, similar. These are
Equal.
isosceles. And Isaiah, what makes this an isosceles triangle? Two sides are the same, and this is a line segment. Is correct. Switching gears a little bit, I'm showing you a percent. You change it to a decimal. Chris, this one's for you.
0.7.
No, well, you're right the first
0.07.
time. Good. And why is it 0.7?
Because that percent, you have to move decimal point 2 places.
2 times is correct. Oscar, this is you. You got it, Kira?
0.7.
All right, what did you pick up from observing in Miss Moses's class? Did you notice she had a variety of activities? How about the pace of her activities? She had a good sense of urgency. It was very grade appropriate. Remember I said that in the lower grades we do addition and subtraction. By 3rd grade we've mastered multiplication and division, but she added to that. She had the students take the answers and add something, subtract something, multiply something, requiring them to think more. And then she had application of the activities. She used the flashcards to have students not have memorized answers, but taking percents and changing them over to decimals to see if they could apply what they have learned. So the first key of every good math class is oral review. The second thing in every math class is a written speed drill. Now, it only takes about 5 minutes, but it's an important 5 minutes. It's going to ensure that the students, once again, are getting practice in those foundational skills. And then it also is going to make sure that students are building the speed that they need to be able to remain effective. And then another key to a math class is the concept that is taught for the day has been taught clearly. Now, I said this with language, and I'm going to say the same thing in math. That's because they're both skill subjects. Demonstration, demonstration, demonstration. It's so important for those new concepts to be demonstrated, not just once, at least twice, and often even more than that. It's appropriate to use visuals when possible. It takes that abstract thing and makes it more concrete, but it's key to use clear, concise steps in teaching those new problems. So all parts of the lesson are covered is a key ingredient of a math class. We talked about oral review, we talked about the written speed drill, we talked about the new concept, and then the written practice in the book. Give them the application. Help them get in there. Very similarly to language, you'll walk around the room, you'll check individuals' work, provide feedback, help students as needed. We'll jump right into the teaching of a new concept in Mrs. Chappell's 2nd grade math class. I think you'll enjoy it.
Boys and girls, let's sing our measurement song. 12
inches in a foot, in a foot, in a foot. 12 inches in a foot, help us measure well. 3 feet in a yard, in a yard, in a yard. 3 feet in a yard, help us measure too. 36 inches, great big yard, great big yard, great big yard. 36 inches, great big yard, measuring is fun.
They have to see. Now, we have learned how to measure with what you just said, inches, feet, and yards. But I have a bucket of water here. Would I use a ruler and a yardstick to measure how much water is in my bucket, Kara? No, this is capacity. If you're going to measure things like water and orange juice and milk, all those liquids, you need to use liquid measures. And we have several of them here. You probably recognize these because your mom or dad have them in your house. Mom or dad, or even your grandparents, they may use them to make different dishes that you like for supper or maybe different desserts. So repeat after me. We have a cup, pint, quart, gallon. Now, do they look like they're in order from the smallest to the largest, Sahara? Yes, they are. But here's a clue to help you remember the difference in their sizes and how much they can hold. Cup has 3 letters in the word. Pint has 4 letters in the words. We go from 3 to 4, and then quart has 5 letters in it, and then we go to gallon. So the number of letters in the words keep going up, don't they? Just like they go up in size. That's a fun way to remember. Now, you are probably thinking, Mrs. Chappell, are we in math or science? Because this looks like a science experiment, doesn't it? Well, if you're wondering, are we doing math or are we doing science? The answer to your question is yes, because we are doing both. In math today, we're going to conduct an experiment. But you know, when we do experiments, we have to ask questions. So the first question I have is, how many cups do you think it's going to take to fill a pint? Now, we need to have some guesses. So, Grayson, what do you think?
2.
He thinks 2. Does anyone think anything else? Mass, what do you think? She thinks 2. Anybody, anything different than 2? All right, Nina, what do you think?
2.
She thinks 2. Well, everybody, it looks like you think 2. Well, we're going to test our theory that it is 2. So let me get a whole cup of water. And of course, we need to make sure we measure it carefully. Got to look right on the line. Now we're going to put 1 cup in and see if it fills it up. Ready? And we all go, ooh. All right, it's not full yet, so we need to do another cup. So EJ, is this cup number 1 or 2 I'm getting ready to pour in?
2.
I'm getting ready to pour 2 in. Let's see if it goes all the way up and we fill it up. And we did. It's 2 cups equal 1 pint. Class, let's say that.
2 cups equals 1 pint.
And there we have it. And we can even read it the other way. Let's start on this side.
1 pint equals 2 cups.
We did our first experiment.
Did you enjoy Mrs. Chappell's 2nd grade class? She certainly did a great job using visuals. Did you notice she asked students questions to get them thinking in the relationship to the 2 different measurements, from a cup to a pint and a pint to a quart? We want to get our students thinking. So now we've discussed the 3 core subjects of elementary: reading, the foundational subject. And I should say that's the foundational academic subject. We all know that Bible is the core subject of any Christian school. But academically speaking, we have reading, language, and arithmetic. Now let's transition, because this session's not going to allow us to sit here and talk about every subject in elementary. But I want to give you some general principles of that topic that we discussed. How can we be for sure that the goals that we are wanting to occur in elementary actually are taking place? If that's care and concern, if that's a solid academic program, if that's the critical thinking and the biblical integration. And generally speaking, the way you can do that is to get in the classrooms through observation. So yes, you're going to observe in reading, you're going to observe in language, you're going to observe in math. And I would say you would probably observe in those core subjects the most. But you also want to get into those other classes of spelling and of penmanship and of history and of science. And so what kind of things can you do? Well, first of all, let me encourage you to protect your classroom observation time. We're busy people as supervisors. And so get it on your schedule. Ask your secretary to protect that time. I would encourage you to try to observe for about 8 to 10 hours a week, if possible. Now, some weeks that might not be possible, and I surely understand that. That happens to me also. But try to get in there as much as possible, making it a priority. So, what are you going to look for when you go into the classroom? Well, generally speaking, there's 2 categories, and we just tell our teachers what these categories are. We're looking at their teaching techniques, and we're looking at their classroom management. Now, our teachers know that we are going to come in their classroom. We also try to help them to know we're coming along as a friend in the classroom, to come along and assist them, that we are on their side, that we are their biggest cheerleader. So what am I looking for specifically when it comes to teaching techniques? Well, I'm looking for, are they giving clear, concise explanations? Do they have a solid knowledge of the content being taught? Are they prepared and organized, or are they digging in their closet for those charts or flashcards? Are they covering all parts of the day's lesson? And when you get to know the curriculum, you'll know those parts. Are they enthusiastic, or are they boring? Do they have smooth transitions? That's going to show you if they are prepared. Smooth transitions within the subject as well as subject to subject. Are they teaching with a good sense of urgency? Are they using every minute of the class profitably? Are the students actively involved in the lesson? Are they being required to think? Are teachers asking those higher level thinking questions? Are they putting in those biblical principles? We want the integration of biblical principles throughout the lesson to lay that foundational biblical worldview. So those are some things, generally speaking, that you're going to look for good teaching tips. You're going to look at teaching technique as well as classroom management. Now, what are some of the core things for classroom management? Is the teacher in control of the classroom? Are they following the procedures, the habits, the routines that were established at the beginning of the year? If it's the beginning of the year, are they establishing those? By the way, let me say this. At the beginning of the year, if you only have time to get into a few rooms, start with your new faculty, then go to your weaker teachers, then get to your veteran teachers. But help them get those routines established at the beginning of the year so that they can be maintained throughout the year. And then, are they following the prescribed steps of discipline that have been communicated to them? Your school has steps of discipline, and so are they being followed? Help teachers know how to successfully do that. That will also provide unity and consistency inside your school. Are they correcting misbehavior with love? Remember, we want them to have care and concern. That doesn't mean that they're not going to correct or ignore misbehavior. Actually, that means they're going to correct that misbehavior because they love their students. They want them to be more like Christ. Classroom management also is observed through, are they aware of what students are doing? Is the room neat and clean? Are all the lights on in the classroom? Is the atmosphere got a calm control? And then are they staying on schedule? And so get in the classroom, observe your teachers, both their teaching techniques and their classroom observation. Now, the last thing I want to discuss is what tools can you give to your teachers to help them be successful? And I've already talked about this, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But supervisors, if you have not provided a curriculum for your teachers, let me encourage you to do so. The curriculum guide is going to save them so much time. Our publishing team has worked very hard in planning these lessons so your teachers don't have to plan the pace of the lessons and what needs to be covered. They can just study the lessons for those students. It's going to provide a sense of security. So provide them with a curriculum. Provide your teachers with a daily schedule, helping them to know when they should start math, when they should start history, when they should finish lunch, when they should go to the restroom. That's going to protect all of the subjects your teachers need to teach, your students need to learn, instead of just getting caught up on one subject. And then help your teachers know what good routines and habits are. If that's how to line up, if that's how to stand when being called on, if that's how to prepare for a subject, if that's what you expect at the restroom or at lunch or dismissal or upon arrival, help your teachers establish those habits and routines so that they can be successful in the classroom. The elementary years are such foundational years for the rest of a student's academic career. We want to be sure that the students are getting the best education possible in 1st through 6th grades. If we give the teachers the tools and the guidance necessary, if we get in their classrooms and make sure that learning is occurring, that we will be able to assure parents that their child is ready to move to the next grade. It's a tremendous responsibility, but thankfully we can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth us.